Welcome to the Politics of Everything. I'm Amber Daines, your host and podcast producer. This is a half hour of power, a podcast dropping every week where I unpack the politics of everything, from money to motherhood, nutrition to narcissism, startups to secularism, the environment, quality, and much, much more. Our guests are seasoned in the field or topic of their choice, even if you've not heard of them yet. This is a non-partisan show. So while I love exploring varied views and get a buzz from a healthy debate of ideas, this is not a purely blue, white, green program. Please subscribe, tune in and enjoy the politics of everything. Life-changing innovators and true entrepreneurs are rare in my experience. Today's guest is an exception. Meet Kristy Chong, the CEO and founder of Modibodi and Modibodi Red, a revolutionary women's high-tech apparel brand that empowers women of all ages, shapes and sizes to live a better life. There's even a men's underwear line now too. Kristy's a mum of four on a mission. She's a FashTech entrepreneur and a social advocate for women's health issues and rights. In 2019, Modibodi was announced both Telstra Australian Medium and Making Waves Award winner and Telstra People's Choice Award winner. FashTech is a world that's fascinating and part of our society, and so I'm so keen to see what Kristy has to say on this topic. She's had an illustrious career in PR, in big end of town, and done a million other things prior to starting this business. But really and truly, what I'm hearing is that FashTech is the future, and so I'm very happy to welcome her to this podcast. Welcome, Kristy.
Thanks, Amber. Thanks for having me.
So when you were growing up, did you imagine that you would be in this world? Or did you have business dreams, or did you go to high school and think, I'm going to grow up and be a ballerina? And what did you think you wanted to do as a kid?
Well, I certainly didn't think I'd be leading a sustainable health apparel brand. No, I didn't. But interestingly, when I look back at, some of those little capsules where you'd saved information, one of them was to be a fashion designer. So,
oh, that's cool.
So I never actually ended up going down that path. I ended up studying a Bachelor of Arts and doing a triple major in government relations, history and performance studies, very weirdly. And then when I realised that wasn't going to get me a job, I went on and studied media at UCID as well. So, didn't think I'd end up here, but I'm glad I have sort of, lived this journey that has brought me to Modibodi.
Absolutely. So you did have 13 years in senior management and public relations roles for multinationals such as McDonald's and Edelman PR. What did that really teach you about branding, I guess, and that business of positioning and PR, even before you started your own label?
Oh, look, I am really grateful for my background in PR being within the agency side and then moving into more of a corporate comms role in multinationals. I mean, definitely that sort of agency side, it not only taught me about, how important it is for a brand to have a unique selling proposition, understanding and knowing your customer base, but it taught me a lot about time management, cost-effective budgeting, and also how to access my creative side. That's really important in that agency space. So, and then I think it also taught me about rejection, because we all know what it's like to pitch a great story into the media and get rejected hundreds of times.
Oh, yes. So you and I do know that feeling well. You've got to have a thick skin, I've decided, to be in this game.
You really, really do. So I think it's a great base for anyone. And I also think agency is really good as well for learning those skills. But the corporate career for me gave me a little bit more in terms of understanding how a big multinational works, in terms of those interdepartmental goings on, and then also more about, strategic writing plans and strategic thinking. But for me also, I think a couple of big things that came out was I did a lot of personal development. That's what you get to do in big corporates. So I learned about what my strengths were as well. And then I suppose what I wanted to do and where I should focus my energies in life. And lastly, I not only did the PR, but I headed up a lot of the corporate social responsibility for those businesses. So it sort of was something I felt very passionate about. And therefore, when I sort of started Modibodi, I felt really connected to doing more to have social impact, not just to grow a financially profitable business as well.
Absolutely. All those elements have come together. Fast forwarding to 2011, which is 10 years ago now. I can't believe that. When the concept of launching your business was ignited, and obviously it was based on personal experience, having it something that would revolutionise the way girls and young women think about underwear and apparel, and I guess those so-called taboo topics of light bladder leakage and obviously menstruation. You went through a bit of a process, though. It wasn't easy to, I imagine, get, if you don't have the background in sort of textiles, how did you really make this happen? I mean, they can have an idea and try and solve a problem, but not everyone's very successful at it. What was your process to get that first Modibodi collection up and rolling?
I think that the success to get the product into the market came from just my own desire to have this product available to people and to myself. So that is what sort of drove me. It was this, underlying passion and desire to give myself something not only more sustainable, but something that was more convenient, more stylish, and it gave me better protection for my periods and the light incontinence that I'd started to suffer from as a mum of two. And in terms of how I've got there in the process, it's just been a journey of problem solving, one after the other, and putting in a project plan with timelines and budgets, and then holding myself, and then later as my business grew, the team accountable to achieve those goals. Even today, we have a very detailed metrics-driven business plan, so 360 metrics across the business that I'm aware of every single one of them. So that's where I think that metrics and that accountability is really important. And I just also want to say it's taken a lot of hours. I don't want to lie and, to the listeners.
No, you are a hard worker. So just so that all the audience realises, Kristy and I know each other from our mum life as well. Our children went to primary school together, and I know how hard you work. And it's, people see the success and the gongs and the accolades, but of course there's many, many years and hours beforehand of, I guess, fails and learnings and getting to that point where you've got market mass and you can actually make a profit.
I'm renowned for working terrible hours during the middle of the night. So, but, having said that, I was able, and you know that as well, Amber, I was able to have flexibility in my life. So I was able to be there for my children because I was starting a business, and therefore I could, I'd jump on at night or actually get up in the middle of the night and work a couple of hours.
Who needs sleep?
Who needs sleep? Exactly. Well, it does catch up with you. But
it does.
But what I have learned is that, I was still able to be there for my children, which is great. Which is
as you grew the business.
Your business.
Absolutely. And I always say that if you can't have that flexibility in your own business, then what's the point? You've got to be able to have swings and roundabouts, and obviously that requires you have to work at crazy hours, but you get to be there at pickup and you get to be there when it matters.
Yes, exactly.
So the term FashTech is not something everyone's familiar with. And I must admit, until sort of I thought about your brand and a few others in the market, it's quite new to me. But I sort of see it as that use of technology and digitization to disrupt that traditional fashion or retail industry. But it also impacts our daily lives. I mean, what sort of problem does FashTech solve? And what have you seen in the industry that's kind of kept you going or inspired you to be in that space?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good explanation that you've given, because it really is about new technology enhancing the customer experience in the fashion area. I mean, for me, I just want to sort of clarify that I see us and Modibodi in particular as part FashTech merged with FemTech. So in terms of FashTech,
I like that. That's cool. I love all these tech terms. They're always evolving.
And I suppose the reason I say that, in terms of FashTech, we fall under what you'd call smart fabrics or textile innovation. But then we use those smart fabrics to create a more sustainable and empowering solution for people. That we manage, leaks like periods, perspiration, breast milk, and continence. And so in that sense, by the management of those sorts of issues, we're actually also FemTech, because FemTech's about using tech to empower women's health. And that's why, at Modibodi, we actually coined the term sustainable health apparel or high-tech health apparel, because we are sort of merged in the middle of it. But there's some really amazing things happening in the FashTech space, which I'm really excited to say are all about. Some of them can drive better sustainable outcomes, whether that's using drones for distribution, whether that's actually made to order, so you can actually reduce overstocks in the fashion industry, so you can make the garments to order. There's lots of exciting developments that are happening.
And I guess for you, Modibodi's obviously evolved over the years. And like you mentioned, you started off, I guess, with an initial range, and you're now in swimwear. You've got a men's range. You've got a range for younger women as well who might be just starting their menstruation. You've really expanded this. So where's the business at today? How would you describe Modibodi? It's obviously not a startup anymore.
No, we're not a startup anymore, thankfully. But Modibodi's expansion's been driven by a D2C or direct-to-consumer model. We used micro-influencers and mainly digital media to generate that acquisition and growth. And we still are predominantly actually a direct-to-consumer business, but we've expanded into some resellers like Big W along the way. So we are now a sized revenue business, which is exciting. We've got over 700,000 global customers, 40% of our sales are global, 3 warehouses globally, and we're about to open up another one as well. And we've got about 28 staff. So, yeah, we're a mid-sized business, but still running similarly to the same type of channel model and strategy that we had at the very beginning.
Excellent. So obviously your role in Modibodi has changed. You're obviously still the founder, but you've had some external investors, which is publicly known as well. How has that changed the business, and how might you change it again in the next few years? Because I always think with any practice or any business, you've really got to keep evolving and keep moving. If you stand still too long, it may not work anymore. So what do you see on the horizon?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So when we brought on the external investors, like all founders, you get a little bit nervous, but it's actually been a really good experience for us because it's allowed us to scale our operations globally and build out a very poorly resourced team at the time. So that's been great. And then those investors also form a board as well, and they act as a sounding board for me as well to discuss strategies with. So I don't feel so alone on that journey. But in terms of that global expansion, we're looking at moving most of our sales overseas. So in the next few years, you'll see that 40% I spoke about before turning into 60% being from overseas markets. We're expanding our ranges, as you mentioned, the menswear range. We've expanded the teenswear range, but you'll see a lot of other category expansion this year. Because really at Modibodi, we have this whole vision that's a commitment to limitless positive impact. So we want to be leaders in the impact and sustainability space. We want to continue to maintain the brand love through opening all these conversations that we've been doing around taboo topics. And also we want to be seen as the best product in the market. And I think the way you do that is by providing customers with not just quality and comfort and style, but scientifically proven product, which, at Modibodi we do. So, yeah, lots and lots of growth over the next few years.
Because, of course, a couple of competitors, which always happens, I suppose, have come into the marketplace, but you still want to position yourself as the best. Do you think there's enough of the pie for every brand, or how do you see that kind of disrupting your model?
Yeah, look, I actually think that there's still, our number one competitor is the disposable market. So we're not afraid of those brands. We sort of welcome any reusables. What we dislike about it is that, they're not necessarily getting the scientific proof. So we've got patents behind our products, which shows they've been scientifically proven. We don't want customers to have a bad experience using another product because they haven't done all that research and they're sort of jumping on a trend. And I think that's the other thing about Modibodi. We are committed to being the most sustainable brand in the market. So it's not a trend. It is actually part of our DNA. And we're also committed, as I mentioned before, to the whole social impact. And this year we've actually decided to give away 100,000 pairs to 20,000 people in need. So, that is going to grow.
Oh, that's fantastic. Is that a global initiative? How are you actually going to manage that?
Yeah, so we've actually brought on someone to help us manage this part of our business. And so we're looking to partner with, one of the big groups, so a UN or a plan we've been doing a pilot trial with in Indonesia. So that's who we will roll that out with, as well as continue with our localised donations, which we do with AusAid and groups in, Aboriginal communities as well in NT. So that will always continue. This is just more of a bigger initiative that we want to make one big commitment to, and we'll have measurable impact. So we'll get reports back that demonstrate how having access to a sustainable product has allowed that person to be able to go back to school or continue to work.
Fantastic. And how do you identify those ECG kind of partners? And obviously there's a big women focus, but do you have a way in which you analyse that as a business before you sort of jump on board and try and do a good thing?
Absolutely. We're looking for partners who have the resources. So they have usually the programs in place where they're on the ground and that they are committed, as I mentioned before, to not just, handing out product, but to the education piece of our product and also to following through to see what benefit that had to that person's life. So that is super important as well. But we still do, having said that, we still do partner with, those who come to us, smaller charities who maybe can't act on that level, and just give out small donations because, we support everyone trying to do good. So
absolutely. Well, that's a good ethos to have. Getting a little bit more personal into you, Kristy, if you could just choose one song, book or show, and I don't know if you've had any time to read in the past few years. I do know you have or still have a 2-year-old at home as well as older children. But assuming that there's something in your past that you perhaps could resonate with and share, what is it and why do you like it so much? I mean, I know there's certain books and songs that, I hear and I go, oh, that's amazing. That reminds me of my childhood, or that reminds me of a time that I had great success at work. Is there anything that particularly stands out for you, and what is it and why?
yeah, there's two things. So a book would be Shoe Dog, because it's about the Nike founder's journey, which I can absolutely relate to. And I
Oh,
think
it's a fantastic book.
fantastic.
Absolutely. Every entrepreneur should read
Everyone
that,
should
no matter
read
what
it.
category you're in.
It is
Yeah.
brilliant. And then from song perspective, I have to say, for me, it's anything Michael Jackson, a little bit controversial, but my most favourite song, and I think it resonates with the Modibodi brand anyway, is around Heal the World by Michael Jackson, because, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. And I think that's what we're trying to do. So
Fantastic. Excellent. Mentors are really important for lots of people, and mentors play different roles to coaches or advisors in any business. Do you have one or two that you would like to celebrate here? And what have they taught you about success and life?
I actually do. So my mum has been a wonderful mentor. She had 4 kids, her first at 16 years of age. She was adopted, lost both of her adoptive parents by the age of 23. She grew up very, very much encouraging us children to try everything. We participated in, sport, music, drama, whatever. She was always behind us. And yet she was also working. She was participating in local theatre herself, singing at weddings, going to the gym. So what she taught me was the ability that we have to juggle many responsibilities. And, I think that was a great role model. My husband, he's also a special person in my life. He only ever wants for me to be happy, and has really been integral in the success of Modibodi through the support he's provided. He's stepped up at home when things got busier for me. And, a startup, let alone having 2 children along that journey to make 4, puts a lot of strain on a marriage. But, we've got very similar values and ambition. And so, the great thing about him is he's got great perspective and we balance each other. So he's definitely been a great mentor. But then from a business perspective, there's been 2 people, someone called Bill Trestrel and Diana Diambra, just super smart, generous, but very humble people who've been a wealth of knowledge in that business perspective. And they opened some doors for me to some great people that have helped in the success of Modibodi. So, yeah, I feel very thankful for those people.
That's a great pick, crew. Yeah. Well done.
Thank you.
And as a final takeaway, what would be your final insight into the politics of FashTech?
Yes, I would say that technological developments in the fashion industry are super important, but they shouldn't be just to enhance the consumer experience. They really need to have a positive impact on our planet. So, like I mentioned before, 3D printing, smart fabrics that replace petroleum-based fabrics, reusing like through dress companies like Glam Corner and The Vault. They're all smart, technological developments in the fashion industry, but are also sustainable. So let's see more of that.
Absolutely. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the Politics of Everything. If you do want to connect with Kristy Chong, I will put details of her LinkedIn connection and her business on my show notes. You have been listening to the Politics of Everything. Until next time, keep well. Thanks so much for listening today. If you've enjoyed the Politics of Everything, I thrive on your feedback. So please add a short review and share the podcast with your network through Apple, Spotify, and all the usual suspects. I'm always on the hunt for new and diverse guests, so if you or someone you know has a fresh idea you're busting to get out there, please email me at amber@amberdanes.com and my crew will get back to you very soon.